Here comes that time again where we need to press the burning iron against the flesh and really start to think about what matters most in life. Of course, I'm talking about another irrelevant top 10 list, and oh boy do we have a list for you. I'm Corey from Console Crashers, and today we're going to be taking a look at our personal top 10 favorite PS4 games as of August 2017. Now, a few things before we get into it. After being aware of the sad and frightening fact that I am not a professionally trained telepath, I feel required to inform you that this list will only consist of games that we've actually played. On top of that, would you kindly remember that this entire list is comprised of personal opinion. So I will tell you now, while games like Uncharted and Horizon Zero Dawn are great games admired by many, they just don't tickle our fancy like they do for most people, so you won't see them on this list. Lastly, one final rule. Only one per franchise. Now with that in mind, let's get right on into it. Oh, how we waited for this hair product boy band filled fantasy trip that was Final Fantasy XV, and I will tell you it was not disappointing in the least. While sure, the story could have used some better pacing, and maybe the second half got really linear near the end, these were just some small imperfections surrounding a much greater experience. The characters were likable, the combat was fun and interesting, and the setting was one of my personal favorites in any Final Fantasy game ever, blending that usual fantasy aesthetic so many RPGs tend to aim for with a passionate mix of modern-day utopias. It was incredibly enjoyable, and I cherished every moment I spent there. On top of that, once the story is over, the game is packed with endgame content for you to explore, which is really where the game shines the most. Not to mention with all the added DLC chapters, a future co-op mode, and just so many little secrets to keep you going for months, this game is definitely worth the investment. Oh, Yakuza, 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 where the hell have you been all my life? Perfectly blending a gritty Japanese-oriented crime drama with lovable spice of life and out-of-this-world set pieces, Yakuza becomes this hybrid of entertainment that could just keep on going for literally decades, with over 6 games in the main franchise and several Japan-only spin-offs, all of which span over 40 hours, with side quests, random activities, and characters you're actually going to give a shit about. This game marks a fantastic starting point to an incredibly underrated series, and it's one of my favorite PS4 games of all time. Now, if we could only get that Yakuza 2 remake, huh, Sega? Hookers, gang fights, and the world's most incredibly indestructible cell phone is the thing that often comes to mind when you think of Grand Theft Auto 5. And while yes, that is true, the game itself can be so much more than that. Literally a painstakingly detailed sandbox for you to live out your wildest fantasies, San Andreas becomes a whole new world for you to explore, filled with funny dialogue, interesting characters, and just an incredible sense of scope, which really only becomes apparent when you're standing atop of the tallest mountains or jumping from the biggest skyscrapers. Now for some, GTA gets praised for its chaos, but for me, it's more about everything else. Its beauty, its quantity meets quality, and overall, just the amount of detail that goes into every single thing that you do. From cutscenes to set pieces, all the way down to that tranquility you feel if you're able to walk down a quiet road in the middle of the night without some 7-year-old blasting your ass with a rocket launcher. Fuck you, Jimmy, I know it was you! Every once in a while a game comes along that is so mind-blowing, so ridiculous, and so out of left field that it becomes the only thing you can think about for the remainder of the week. And The Witness did just that. It's really hard to describe why it did all this without unraveling everything the game sets out to accomplish. So just know this. It's a challenging, fun, and often simplistic puzzle game from the beautiful mind of Mr. Jonathan Blow, and I frickin' love it. Replayability is the key here. Hitman is a game with multiple fun and interesting levels that I can keep coming back to over and over again. The hundreds of different ways to murder your victims is like an explosion of bloody creativity, and I can't count the amount of times I came back to challenge myself with better times, increased difficulty, or to strive for that coveted silent assassin rank. Oh yes, this game took away many hours of my life, and I would gladly give it again. Alright, let's get serious for a second. The Talos Principle is a fantastic game. My love for this game knows no bounds, and if it weren't for the next 4 games on this list, well, I swear to God, logic would dictate that it would sit at the very top as my favorite PS4 game of all time. But why, you ask? staring motionless at your computer screen? Well, I'll tell you why. The Talos principle came to me at a time when I was fed up with all of the Call of Duties and Battlefields of the world. It also came at a time where things were kind of transitioning in my own life. I was going from being just some run-of-the-mill gamer with no qualifications to a fully understood network administration and security specialist. Now, while this may seem like a very personal reason for loving this game, all I can say is, yeah, it is. I love the themes, I love the narrative, I love the puzzles, and even more so, I love the Serious Sam art style with the increasingly philosophical gameplay. All of this stuff just seemed to match what was going on in my life so strongly that I felt a connection to the game that I'm sure a lot of other people might not. But still, this is my own personal list, and I decided to add it because it means a lot to me. On top of that too, how many games do you know have a Steins Gate Easter egg? Huh? Yeah, exactly what I thought. With a solid return to form and a fantastic little teaser, Resident Evil 7 dashed its way straight through my nightmares and into my heart. A true fan of the Resident Evil series ever since its inception way back on the PS1, all I could ever hope for was that one day they would ditch their action-oriented gameplay that Resident Evil 4 brought back on the GameCube, and instead journey back to those older days when tension and helplessness were what defined horror. Item management? Check. Vulnerability? Check. Constantly checking around every single corner just in case some crazy insect-spewing hillbilly is about to rip your face off? Check. Resident Evil 7 had it all. Couple that with tight controls, a typical Resident Evil narrative, and decently replayable experiences, well, you got one of the best horror games on the entire system. Maybe of all time. If you know me, oh, you know I love Fallout. And oh boy, do I love my Fallout. Now, while not a perfect game, and considering the fact that Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are two of my favorite games of all time, I think we should take a moment to clear the air and understand something straight out of the gate. Fallout 4 is a good game. It's just not a good Fallout game. And while we don't have Fallout 3 or New Vegas on PS4 yet, Fallout 4 is going to have to do. All complaints aside though, this game still managed to suck away hours and hours of my life. Going on all kinds of quests and meeting a large sum of interesting characters, Fallout 4 was never short on things to do. Every now and then I still pop it in and revisit the Commonwealth, whether it be to roleplay, kill some ghouls, or simply just escape reality. As I said, Fallout 4 is never short on things to do. All in all though, it's a good game, even a great game. It's just a damn shame it's not a good Fallout game. Because at that point, well, there'd just be no competition, Fallout wins. Fallout always wins, I don't care, it just wins, so yeah. Yeah, I don't care what you think. I talk about these damn games all the time. Persona 3 is amazing. Persona 4 is amazing. And would you freaking believe it, Persona 5 is amazing too. Colorful cast, fantastic music, an incredibly stylized battle system, and touching and emotional stories, man, what more could you want? There is so much to love about this demon collecting spice of life high school simulator that I just couldn't do it justice in a top 10 list. So go out there, get Persona 3, get Persona 4, and then of course get Persona 5. Go on, come on, I'm waiting. I'll wait. Trust me, you owe it to yourself. Go! I'm serious, go, right now! Alright, fine, you can do it later, but you damn well better do it, or else you're gonna have to live with that regret for the rest of your life, and that is not something you want hanging over you. Now before we jump into our number one, here is some honorable mentions. I can already hear it. People losing their goddamn mind over this one. How can it be an incomplete game at the number one spot? Are you crazy? Where's The Witcher 3? Well, hold on a damn second and I'll tell you, jeez. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a game that was built for fans of the series. It has a rolling start and a rolling end. And whether or not that ending was what was originally conceived or not, you can't deny that the story that was told, or as some would say, barely told at all, was one that was set dead in the middle of a series where we were expected to know a lot about what was happening. While some people hate MGS5's story, I can't help but love it, because once you know the twist, you can't help but feel like the story is the chronicles of a man who had to take the responsibility for someone else's actions. A story that followed a man who sacrificed everything, and in the end, he still tried to make a difference. Couple that with tight controls, a stunning open world, incredibly designed cutscenes, and some of my favorite companions and side quests in all of gaming, you got yourself one hell of an experience. There is a lot more I could say about this game, all revolving around Konami, Kojima, and just all the drama that circled it in its ending months. And maybe one day we'll look into that. But as it stands right now, Metal Gear Solid 5 is my favorite PS4 game of all time. Oh yeah, and I haven't played The Witcher 3.